Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. It is Friday. Hope you're having a good one. Friday, 2 p.m., September 30th, the last day of the quarter. Hope everybody impacted by the hurricane is doing all right. It's actually just now about to be overhead, but just rain at this point. We've got some mountains protecting us, but hopefully no flooding. I think we're getting a bit less rain than they initially anticipated. So we should be all set, but definitely people in Florida getting hit hard. Let me know where you're tuning in from and if you had any impact. And we'll get into the broader market. The key longer term signal that I'm looking at for complete bear control. We're going to check in on our relative strength and weakness. Whoa, is this thing telling me that it's 299 miles away? I guess that is what it's saying. All right, let's get to the charts. Actually, no. First, we've got next Tuesday, Trader Pro alert system. So many of you are familiar with it. If you are not, we've got an alert system. And we're going to have a private webinar here where I'm going to go over a lot about the alert system, the alerts that are best utilized for certain market environments. We don't want to be using the same signals in this market environment as the ones that we were seeing in Blue Sky Breakout. And there will be a free month trial for anybody that checks out the webinar. So posting the link in the chat, and I'll also post it in the comments of this video. And that will be Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And there will be a replay available for those who sign up and are unable to make it at 5 p.m. But looking forward to that to talk about the Trader Pro alert system. So the NASDAQ is weak. We started the morning with some strength. And that faded. This is how the morning started. Nice big bull move up, and look at this double top rejection. Triple top, really. This is the NASDAQ, right at resistance, and here we are going all the way back down to support. So it's just another example of bears keeping their control, me keeping a bear lean in the market because the broader market bulls have not proven anything to us, and just a resistance rejection. And so the daily chart is still a bear flag, and we're potentially closing at the low of the month to end the month. The NASDAQ is weaker. Well, it's pretty much hand in hand with the S&P 500 right now. But again, just not seeing anything in the stock market that has me looking bullish. There are a couple major sectors that are still defending support. So we're seeing some defense, but we're not seeing anything in terms of offense. And so until I see bulls prove something to me on offense, I'm just looking short. And I'll be looking for an hourly lower high on a bounce and a daily lower high on a bounce. Bitcoin is clearly standing stronger, holding stronger than the broader stock market. But we know that that can only last so long. If the broader stock market keeps dropping to lower lows, Bitcoin will eventually break 17.5 and hit fresh lows as well. What is happening right now, and I posted this in a tweet, I think yesterday, why is Bitcoin holding on better than stocks? Keep it simple, right? People want to know the why question answered. They want the why question answered a lot with trading. And the why for me is the least important aspect. It is, we accept that it is, that's it. We can move on from there. If you want to really break it down, why is Bitcoin holding on better than stocks? Because bulls are playing defense. There is more bid support absorbing selling pressure, or there is less selling pressure, or both of those scenarios are true. Both of those statements. Either way, we can say that Bitcoin is holding on better and defending support better than the broader market, which means if the broader market gets a bounce going, the Bitcoin bulls are positioned well for that. If the broader market does not get a bounce going and drops to fresh lows and starts with a red start to the month next week, then Bitcoin is going to be dragged back down towards 18.1 and 17.5, our supports that are remaining in this range that we're trading within. And it's getting pretty frustrating for bulls in crypto because they keep breaking bull and then having those bull breaks squashed because of stock market weakness. So here's the Bitcoin divided by NASDAQ chart, which is showing us that we just hit the strongest that Bitcoin has been relative to the NASDAQ in about 6 weeks. That's a significant amount of time. And if we look at the 3-day chart of this pattern, hopefully you recognize what it looks like, because this is the same falling wedge type pattern that we've been watching on Bitcoin, which we'll look at in just a moment. And it's broken bull. As far as I'm concerned, I would say that this is a bull break. So the question now is, can Bitcoin USD follow along? The dominance chart for Bitcoin is still fairly sideways. Until we break this range, nothing's really changing as far as I'm concerned. So it's not really giving me any information. Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, here's another scenario. A 12-hour equilibrium. Maybe it's better on the 8-hour for just a little bit more details. Either way, it was an equilibrium where we had the high. And again, this was a bull break earlier in the week that gave it all back because stocks were weak. So we had that bull break, the low, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low, bull break this morning of a tightening range. Just like we had the bull break midweek, whenever that was, the 26th, bull break to start the week with zero follow through. So that's twice now. Some tightening ranges had broke bull, but we don't follow through because the stock market drags us back down. Bulls are still holding on fairly well right now. They're trying for the hourly higher low off EMA 12. So we had the bull break, stock market weakness. Again, just look at, Bitcoin. When did we top out here? 1110. And what did QQQ do at 1110? It topped out. If we were as weak as the NASDAQ right now, we would be testing 19.1. We're nowhere near 19.1. So it's clearly showing relative strength. We've got a 15-minute equilibrium. Well, not a good 15. We got a tightening range here that's trying to form an hourly higher low. Inside bar, EMA 12 support. The bulls must hold 19.5 if we're going to say that they are keeping their strength. And then, of course, we have to break 20.2 thousand if we're going to continue with strength over the weekend. If we close near the low of the day for stocks, that's going to have a bit of bearish sentiment heading into the weekend. There have been periods in the last couple of months where stocks have closed at the high of Friday heading into the weekend, and crypto has carried through that momentum to have a bit more upside over the weekend. But if we close the low of the day, that's a bit opposite. That's just bearish sentiment and not a whole lot of confidence. And so that will have an impact as well. So we've got 2 hours until we close the broader market. We're testing the lows right now, and we would need a notable shift for bulls to try and salvage the day, essentially, after such a hard rejection from that futures resistance level that we just looked at. So Bitcoin's chopping around overall. I mean, we look at the last few days on the daily chart, there's a bit of a bull lean because we are hitting higher highs, but because of the lack of follow through, we are chopping around a bit. So I can't remember the last crypto trade I took, to be honest. It doesn't mean there's not trading opportunities, but it just means that there's not significant enough trading opportunities to pull me away from stocks and have me say, okay, I'll pay some fees to capitalize on the crypto volatility. There are market environments where that's absolutely the case, but not this current market environment. So hourly is our short-term guide. If we break 19.5, the bulls will be giving the move back, just like we did last time. And the 3-day time frame, again, this is the hope for the bulls in the short term, needing broader market help, needing the broader market to find a bottom and get a daily bounce going. But I'm watching this 3-day potential falling wedge, knowing that if we do not break 22.8 thousand, we're not breaking this pattern bullish. So that's the most important resistance level for me in the short term. And the simple statement, which is what the thumbnail is for this video, is if Bitcoin cannot get over weekly EMA 12, the bears keep complete control. The last weekly lower high is that 22.8 level that I just showed you. So if we don't get over weekly EMA 12, we're not breaking 22.8, and it's just another weekly lower high. Could that be a falling wedge? Yes, it's possible. Could that be a descending triangle? Yes, that's possible. Those two patterns have different outcomes. The descending triangle is a horizontal base of support and a period of lower highs tightening up that eventually breaks bear into continuation. A falling wedge is bear breaks that lack follow through. We did see this bear break of 18.5 that lacked follow through. It's only one bear break. I would be more confident if we had, 17.5 breaking into a bounce and then that level breaking into a bounce. That's when I'm more confident falling wedges. What is going on with those two patterns that make them respond differently in terms of the probable outcomes? If you have a horizontal base of support with multiple touches, everyone is watching that level. Bulls are placing buys above that support, and bears are placing orders to short when that support breaks. And I think we had a fairly good one at 20,000. No. Where was the good? Just looking for an example of a descending triangle. Perhaps back here. Nope. 37s. Well, that was a pretty good one. So 37.1, 37.5. You can just see it's a horizontal base of support here. We had the big bounce, lower high, lower high, lower high, and then we rolled over. So what is happening there is when that support level that everybody is watching breaks, you've got I don't know what the word I want to use is, not a conjunction, a gathering of orders all at the same level, and that's why you get follow through. You have the bulls stopping out, you have the bears entering positions when the support level that everybody is watching breaks. That's why it's a bearish pattern that follows through. A falling wedge is when you have supports that keep breaking straight into a bounce. So you don't have one level. There's not just this is the level that everybody's watching. So you don't have a gathering of orders at one level. So if you're breaking 18.5 and then you bounce, and then you break 17.5 and then you bounce, it's more of a zone than just an individual specific level. And so the breaks that lack follow through, it's because we don't have a gathering of orders all on a singular level that everybody's watching. And that shows bear exhaustion because every bear break is being bought, and eventually that leads to the bull break because bears are unable to get follow through, bulls recognize that, shorts start to cover, bulls start to go long, and you break that pattern bullish. So those are the two differences between those patterns. And at this point in time, we only have one bear break with no follow through on Bitcoin. I would be more confident that this were a falling wedge if we had a couple, but it's only one. And so that's not enough for me, ideally. If we were to break 17.5 and drop down to 17,000 and hold it into a daily bounce, I would then be much more confident that a falling wedge is shaping up. But at this point, I'm just waiting for it to tighten, knowing that we can go 10% from here and still set a lower high compared to 22.8 thousand. So I'm still in patient mode, but weekly EMA 12, I mean, look how many times we've rejected here. We rejected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did get over it once. This was the monthly bear flag with the bull break that had zero follow through. Rejections, rejection, rejection. We've rejected from it essentially maybe 7 of the last 8 times we've tested it. And so if we reject from it again, the lower highs continue. So that's the simple guide. Or you can use 22.8, either one. If we don't get over 22.8, we're not going anywhere. Ethereum, tightening range, broke bull. No follow through at this point in time. Very similar to Bitcoin in that regard. And again, over the last week, we're just not really doing anything. We're just chopping in both directions. Bull breaks, bear breaks, both lacking follow through. 4-hour chart. Support break. We had a resistance break. No follow through. Support break. No follow through. So just sideways here. And it is in line. I am watching the S&P 500 has a megaphone pattern to be keeping an eye on. And so that's part of the reason that we're seeing breaks with no follow through in both directions. Actually, the NASDAQ is the better version of it. But this is a pattern that I'm keeping an eye on in the NASDAQ. And you can see 3 support touches, at least 3 resistance, 4 resistance touches. And so just a visual guide. I'm not acting on these levels, but I'm just keeping an eye on them. But bull break, no follow through, bear break, no follow through, megaphone pattern, and crypto doing a lot of the same. ETH BTC is the tightest it's been in a very long time. So look at the last week plus. Let's call it the last 9 days. So this low and this high, 3, 6, 9 days within this range. And so this is something that you can do when you look back at charts. So we can say, okay, we've been in a 9-day range of less than 6%. Let's go back historically. When's the last time that we've had a range like that for that many days, that tight? And the answer is, it hasn't really happened in a long time. Maybe here, that's the best case for an example similarly. And what happens? You tight range breaks and you get follow through. So back then it was a bear break that had significant follow through behind it. My point is, this is the kind of chart that we look at. Again, if you can look at a chart and say, we've been within this tightening range for X period of time, it hasn't happened, we have not been this tight in 4 months. So we know that volume and volatility are going to result from this. This sideways chart tells me Ethereum and Bitcoin have been trading the exact same the last 9 days. There's no distinct difference between them. That's going to change very shortly. When this pattern breaks, when this range breaks one way or the other, we're going to be able to say, okay, we are in a period of time when Ethereum and Bitcoin were not doing anything different. They're doing the same thing. And this range breaking is going to have us then say Ethereum is clearly stronger than Bitcoin or Ethereum is clearly weaker than Bitcoin. And right now, Ethereum is clearly weaker than Bitcoin just because we are still setting lower highs. So we know if anything is going to change from the environment that we've been in since the merge, sell the top, sell the news, we have to break the lower highs. So if we don't break the lower highs, we're going to remain weaker than Bitcoin. So the prevailing trend is Ethereum being weaker than Bitcoin over the last month. And this sideways range must break bull if that is going to change. Some other coins to look at here. Atom, potential falling wedge still in play. This is the 12-hour time frame. If this were to break bull, it would be an indication that a weekly high or low is being set. So this is a scenario where bear breaks are lacking follow through. We broke 12.95, didn't really get much follow through. We then broke 12.62, not really much follow through. So I'm keeping an eye out for the falling wedge, knowing that anything under 14.90 is just a lower high here, and we may trade within this range into next week. In this pattern, I should say. Atom BTC has been a bear ever since the daily head and shoulders confirmed, but it too is looking for a weekly higher low. So if Atom BTC confirms a 4-hour trend change back to the bulls, I'm looking at the low and the high. If we can hold the low and break that high, that'll be the first indication of a shift in momentum on this pairing in the last, that'll be the first 4-hour uptrend confirmed since the top, essentially. And that would increase probabilities for me that it is a falling wedge on the US dollar pairing. If we cannot confirm a 4-hour uptrend, I am less confident that this is a falling wedge that is going to break bull. So I'm using the BTC pairing to help gauge confidence in a pattern that is setting up on the US dollar pairing. And that's just one way of using the BTC pairing to gather clues that shift the probability of a setup for us based on the BTC pairing. So it's a nice clear example of how we can utilize the BTC pairing to give us information on the US dollar pairing, knowing that we must confirm the 4-hour trend change for anything to shift from what we've been seeing over the last 2 weeks of trading, which is a bear correlation. As Atom went from a lead bull, and over the last week plus, it's been one of the weaker names. XRP had a news bounce with court stuff, but because of the size of this pullback, anything under 56 cents is just a lower high. What is the first indication that a daily lower high is shaping up? A loss of the 4-hour uptrend. So that means the most important support for me now is 466. If we break 466, we lose the 4-hour uptrend and the daily lower high starts to shape up. And from there, we would be looking at a high, low, lower high, and we'd watch to see, can the bulls hold 416 for a higher low? But that's only if we lose the 4-hour uptrend. So it's nice that we have a new 4-hour level established to utilize engaging whether that lower high is shaping up or not. XRP BTC, are there any clues for us? Not really. It's doing the same thing. So if we lose the 4-hour uptrend on both pairings, the daily lower high is likely being set, and we're going to look for a continued tightening daily range from there. Binance BTC has been one of the stronger coins, but I am watching a rising wedge because, again, all of our stronger coins eventually become weaker coins. And so we want to be on top of when that shift takes place. So I can draw this. If I want a tighter uptrend line, I would use the more recent price action like this. I can watch both. But if we see BNB BTC break that tightening range bearish, that would have us watching for the potential of monthly consolidation. But again, Binance is the strongest that it's ever been comparative to Bitcoin this past week. So we're certainly paying attention to that. And Binance had a 12-hour falling wedge that broke bull. Or is breaking bull. Not extremely convincingly. If we get over 300, it'll be very convincing. But Binance is trying to shift this momentum. We have a daily uptrend. Not many individual crypto names have a clear daily uptrend with the higher low and higher high. So keeping a close eye on that Binance BTC chart for any indication that there is a shift going on. But if we don't see that indication, then it's going to remain a lead bull. BNB BTC daily level, the simple statement here would just be if we hold this low of 139, then we're going to remain stronger than Bitcoin. So Binance has been a lead bull. So we did Atom, XRP, Binance. What else are you looking at? I'm reading the chat room now. Thanks for the likes. We've got 68. We want that to be 174,000. Let's check in on the dollar. We forgot the dollar. The dollar pulled back fairly notably. What was notable about this pullback is yesterday was a big red day for the dollar, and stocks still dropped notably. That's a red flag. If we're not going up when the dollar is dropping, what happens if the dollar gives us a daily high or low here? So that shows me the inverse relationship between the dollar and stocks is still favoring bears because stocks were weak even though the dollar was weak. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, but just watching for DXY to try and give us a daily high or low off daily EMA 12 support heading into next week. I am trading spot, and yes, there are exchanges that offer zero trading fees, and I'm waiting for if Binance US, which I believe is their plan, goes, we've already got Bitcoin fee free, but if they add Ethereum as well, then I will likely make the swap. And the reason being, I want to have the ability to trade an altcoin and Bitcoin, because oftentimes we see, one being better than the other in terms of the size of the move in whatever direction. But yes, I am very close to making the leap to a new exchange. How is Mana looking? Just pull up Mana BTC. That'll tell you everything. It's a potential falling wedge. I'm not holding my breath for it. It may take another couple weeks to play out, but is Mana BTC showing us any strength, or is this chart showing us that Mana has been weaker than Bitcoin, knowing that Bitcoin's been weak for months, and Mana's been weaker? We just keep setting lower highs. We're in downtrends. Right now, Mana BTC is in a monthly, weekly, daily downtrend. And as long as that remains the case, for every step backwards that Bitcoin bulls take, for every drop we get in Bitcoin, Mana is going to drop more. And so this relative weakness has been very consistent. over the last almost 2 trading months. So I'd keep an eye on this falling wedge for an indication that something is changing. But the simple statement is, if we are not breaking 3822, nothing is changing. And mana is weaker than Bitcoin. And we know Bitcoin has been weak. So if an individual altcoin is weaker than our underlying gauge of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been weak in daily, weekly downtrends, then we know the bears still have complete control. Does this range pattern formation seem similar to the 6K Bitcoin level during 2018-19? Let's see. The biggest difference for me is, I assume you're talking about, well, I guess here, this was way tighter. And the difference, I would say, is, well, it is fairly similar. Because we had, this is a good example. This is the example I would be looking for as far as a descending triangle. Horizontal base of support, everybody watching the same level, and we just rolled over. And so we had a support level, 6 here, we broke 6,100. Bear break with 0 follow through, but only of one level, not of the level. And then once that broke, it was a huge drop. I don't expect this kind of drop if we break from here. What was the broader market doing November 2018? I believe it had a massive drop as well. So yeah, we would need to see, in my opinion, if we were going to see a very significant bear break and follow through, we would need the broader market to do the same. And so the broader market at that point in time was hitting fresh fear lows by 10%. I guess it's possible the broader market does that, but that would mean that on this support break, we see the NASDAQ within a week or two drop 10%. It would have to get real ugly in markets. But the bottom line is, it is very similar. And if 17.5 breaks, we will anticipate a lot of orders being based around these levels. What indicator am I using for this? I am using pivots high low. And I changed the settings to 5. I'd rather answer questions right now than look at altcoin charts because, again, the altcoins mostly are doing, just look at the BTC pairing and that'll show you if we have relative strength or weakness. So whatever altcoin you want to look at, Algo BTC, relative strength against Bitcoin, as long as we're in a high or low pattern. And we just set a daily high or low, so bulls need to ensure that we don't confirm a bear flag here because that would be our relative strength changing to relative weakness. KDA BTC. We are weaker than Bitcoin. We've been setting daily lower highs for weeks at this point. And unless we break the daily lower highs, we will remain weaker than Bitcoin. So again, we start our analysis with Bitcoin. We know exactly what Bitcoin is doing. We know the key level, the key support. And then we look at the altcoins comparative to Bitcoin to say, is it doing the same thing, trading sideways on its BTC pairing like Ethereum is doing? Is it showing strength like Binance, which is in a clear uptrend and at all-time highs with its comparison to Bitcoin? Or is it a lead bear and weaker like Mana, which is in a clear downtrend for 2 months relative to Bitcoin? So if you want to know if your coin is stronger or weaker than Bitcoin, is the BTC pairing in an uptrend or a downtrend? And that answers your question. What would I say to those who are experiencing difficulty trading in this bear market? Stop trading. This is one of the hardest, this is one of the trickiest markets that I have seen. I'm referring more so to stocks, but crypto definitely goes in line with it. But one of the trickiest I've seen in the last 8 years. The last 8 years is when I've been trading full time. I've been trading for 12 plus years overall. First 4 years, it wasn't what I eat, sleep, and breathe. Last 8 years, it's been the most significant thing that I do in my life. So in the last 8 years, this is one of the most tricky market environments to be trading. So I would be saying if you are newer, use small capital sizes to practice and focus on education. And I've said it many times, but the people that went through the bear markets and focused on education that I have interacted with were then ready to smash the opportunity when the market environment shifted and we gained clarity in a strong bull market. So markets are cycles. This will shift, but it may be a while. So educate and practice with small capital and preserve your capital for when the market environment shifts. Don't constantly be trying to nail the bottom. When the market environment shifts, you do not need to nail the bottom to make significant profits. Do I feel trading in crypto is safer than trading in traditional markets at this very moment? No real difference between the two. Nothing notable for me. Very similar. Is EOS BTC in an uptrend? Absolutely not. So, we're looking for a monthly high or low, big picture, but look at this. We reject from resistance, and then we've been in a daily downtrend since then. So if we're in a daily downtrend, we have been weaker than Bitcoin, and we could say we have been weaker than Bitcoin for 3 weeks at this point. And that double top and then support break was a notable shift from relative strength to relative weakness. Hey, Stacks. Is it time now to start long-term position building? If you are looking to DCA, dollar cost average, absolutely I'd be making a first entry here, and then I'd be saving capital for another entry if we break support and head down to the mid-teens or low teens. But I'd be basing it off of time. I would just be breaking up my capital into 20% increments, and every month or every 6 weeks or every 2 months, I'd be buying 20%. I would so much rather be building long-term positions in this market environment than in a bullish market environment. This is the first time I've been building ever since the CVID dump, and then now this is the first time I've built a long-term IRA portfolio. Because if you're looking 10 years out, every time markets have ever been weak in the last 100 plus years has been the time to be making long-term entries. And every single time we have gone back to all-time highs. Now, you have to prepare for the unusual scenario or the black swan scenario where that doesn't happen this time, which is why you use capital that you can afford to lose. But, for my friends that are in their late 20s, mid 30s, early 40s, you are welcoming this market environment. This is where the opportunity comes into play. I'm not shorting BTC. There is no good exchange in the US that meets my criteria of security and insurance for me to be shorting it. Someday. My long-term altcoin holds is just Bitcoin, Ethereum, tiny bit of Link, tiny bit of Litecoin, but insignificant. Not even really worth mentioning. For my IRA, I focus on ETFs. I may start focusing on some dividends for some individual names, but I've just been keeping it simple. SPY gives a dividend, but I've just been keeping it simple and focusing on SPY at this point. All right, last one here and we'll wrap it up. Sol BTC shows me not really doing a whole lot in terms of its own. So when I look at this, we can say recently we've had a little bit of relative strength against Bitcoin, yes. But you look at this tightening weekly range, and there hasn't been a significant difference in the last month, and there hasn't been a huge difference in the last 3 months. This is when these are market environments where you're seeing huge shifts from what the altcoin is doing compared to Bitcoin. Way stronger, way weaker, way weaker. This, not much difference. Sideways. But we watch for those sideways ranges to break. Here was sideways. So we watch for the sideways to break to then significantly change what the altcoin is doing comparative to Bitcoin. But as long as we're mostly sideways, it's not a big difference. I missed the beginning of this stream. Can you go over Bitcoin again? No, sir, but you can go back and watch it. All right. I appreciate you all watching. Thanks for the likes. Check out the link for the webinar next week. Trader Pro Alert System, free month trial. Again, the way that I am comfortable advertising is just giving away a free thing. And if that alert, which has happened plenty of times, someone will say, the first alert that I took, I just paid for a month subscription for Trader Pro Alerts. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. If you use the alert system and it's not helpful and it doesn't help you make money, then you expire your free trial and you don't use it and everybody's happy. And if it does help you make money and if you are able to incorporate it into your game plan, you take the profits that you've made and you keep staying subscribed. That way, everybody's happy. You never have an unhappy customer. Thanks again. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Do good things.